One would not be wrong to say that Eldoret and or Uasin Gishu ndio kitovu cha deadly clashes in Maasai Mara. One would, I would not be surprised if one went to Google Map and measured how many kilometers is Eldoret town from Maasai Mara. If one was traveling to Maasai Mara from Eldoret, I think the quickest road is you go up to Nakuru. From Nakuru, you go follow the Naivasha road up to Maasai Mara. I think that is the easiest way. Someone will be shocked. How is it that Eldoret town or even Uasin Gishu County is connected to the clashes, the deadly clashes in Maasai Mara? I'll try to answer that. There has been a deadly war in Maasai Mara for quite a long time. In the early 90s, I was a desk officer in charge of two desks. I was in charge of criminal intelligence, and I was also in charge of intertribal clashes. In this aspect, I'm talking of intertribal clashes, which covered intertribal, interracial, intercommunity, and even interclan tension. When they talk of intertribal tension, it means in many cases, now over 90% it refers to clashes within two tribes. But you'll find in some places like Elgeyo Marakwet, find two sub-tribes of the Kalenjin are fighting against each other. And in some areas like Maasai Mara, clans of the Maasai tribe are fighting among themselves. And if you look at the clans that are fighting among themselves in Maasai Mara area, there are three clans, which most of the occasions they do. Of course, you find sometimes Maasais fight Kisis. There are sometimes when Maasais fight Kipsigis, and so on and so forth. But most of the cases, more than half of the cases, are wars between these three clans. One clan is called Moitanik, another one is Syria. The spelling and pronunciation is like the Arab country, Syria. And the third one is Uasin Gishu. Uasin Gishu. Yes, you heard me properly when I said Uasin Gishu. Uasin Gishu, the same spelling, the same pronunciation, and the same meaning as Uasin Gishu in Eldoret. Now, when you want to handle the wars in Maasai Mara, you have to handle those three. Yes, we have problems. Like the recent two clashes came about because of the first one. There was an incident where a vehicle overran over some livestock. That one brought a deadly confrontation. And the other one has to do with the miscommunication, whereby surveyors were coming to survey the land, while one side had known. I think the Maasais were aware that there was going to be there was going to be survey of land, but the Kipsigis did not know. So there is such a thing, but in many cases, it is a clash between the three. you find that the Moitanik at one time are fighting Syrians, or Moitanik are fighting the UASIN GISHU, or Syria is fighting the UASIN GISHU. It is that way. That is the formation where fights are always there. But the most common factor is the UASIN GISHU Maasai fighting either the Moitanik Maasai or the Syrian Maasai. Why is it that in most cases UASIN GISHU Maasai are the ones who are fighting these other ones? The issue here is, and I'll talk that in detail later, but the issue here is that the original home of the UASIN GISHU Maasai was what today is called UASIN GISHU County. That is where they originally came from. If you look at the history of Kenya, Maasai occupied roughly, if you count Nairobi, it was Maasai land. You count Naivasha, and you can see how far north Naivasha is, was Maasai land. The whole of Laikipia, all the way to, if you find a place like Nyandarua, you'll find names like Olkalau. Olkalau are Maasai names. Oloiururu, which they now call Nyahururu, those are Maasai land, and so on and so forth. I will come to that. But the three people who are fighting, I said Moitanik, Syria, and UASIN GISHU. The UASIN GISHU, originally they were in Eldoret. Originally they were in Eldoret town or UASIN GISHU County. But then the Maasai were moved, the way I will talk later, south of the rail. So all the UASIN GISHU Maasai who, you see, many people, when I talk about, let's say, Homa Bay County, the natives there expect me to differentiate between the Kasipul people, the Kabondo people, the Karachuonyo people. You see, we outsiders have a hard time differentiating Karachuonyo from Kasipul, from Kabondo. Tunaona tu Jaluo ni Jaluo. The same way, we cannot differentiate Purko Maasai, Matabato Maasai, Moitanik Maasai, Syria Maasai. We cannot differentiate them. To them, Maasai ni Maasai. So when this, and you see, Maasai, unlike the Bantus or even Luos, they don't have what we call personal lands. They have group ranches. So you find that land from here, thousands of acres, belong to this clan or that clan. So when the UASIN GISHU were removed from Eldoret to UASIN GISHU County, they were taken and dumped in Maasai Mara. So you find that most of the land that they are fighting over ancestrally was not theirs. It was either Moitanik or Syria. Now, no government, no colonial government never addressed that issue. Kenyatta government never addressed that issue. And all those governments that up to Ruto government, they are not addressing that issue of the UASIN GISHU Maasai. Now, let us go back to UASIN GISHU when they were still in Eldoret, what is now called UASIN GISHU County. UASIN GISHU is a clan that is associated with cows. Gishu. For those of you who are Kabrasis and Tachonis, you know of my clan. My clan is called Samo Ingombe. Samo Ingombe. Now, my clan is a clan of cattle. UASIN GISHU, the word Gishu is ngombe or cow. So it says that UASIN GISHU is a clan of cows. That is the meaning of UASIN GISHU. Now in UASIN GISHU, when they were moved, originally they were from Eldoret, and that is why the place is still called UASIN GISHU District or UASIN GISHU County. There is a river in Eldoret town. Depending on who is calling that river, it is just like we have a mountain called Kilimambogo, isn't it? I can't really recall the other name of the Kilimambogo, but Kambas call it Kilimambogo. Oh, there are those who call it, yeah, Kikuyus call it Kilimambogo, Kambas call it Kilimakiu. Is it but anyway, I don't know. It has two names. Or even Mount Kenya has two names. You can call it Mount Kenya or you can call it Kirinyaga. What I mean is there is a river in Eldoret town called, depending on who is calling it. The Kalenjins call it Sosiani River. Kalenjins call it Sosiani River. Maasais call it Ildrit. Ildrit. So when the Kalenjins came, they could not pronounce the name Ildrit. So the Kalenjins tried to call Idrit, but they call it Eldoret. Eldoret. So Maasais called it Eldoret. No, the Nandis were unable to pronounce Ildrit and called it Eldoret. That is how it is. Between 10th and 15th August in 1904, the Maasai chief called Lenana signed an agreement on behalf of the Maasais on which all Maasais were to move. All Maasais north of the Uganda Railway were to move south of Uganda Railway. Meaning, all Maasais in Laikipia, all Maasais in everywhere, up to Eldoret, north of railway, had to be pushed down and be accommodated in Kajiado or Narok. That one was, the agreement was written between 10th and 15th August 1904 with Lenana. But was Lenana a chief? No. Maasais did not have chiefs as we understand them. Maasais had Laiboni. Laiboni is a wise man, most with two powers, medicinal powers and religious powers. So the British believed that he was the chief. And so they wrote an agreement where all Maasais were to move to the south of the place. Today, if you have to buy or sell land, a lawyer has to be there to interpret the sales agreement with you. Lenana just thumbprinted on something that he did not even understand. And he was thumbprinting instead of signing, because he was illiterate, on something that did not affect him as an individual, but it affected the tribe generally. All Maasais moved to the southern part of the railway, except two types of Maasais, three types of Maasais remained. The first one was the James, the second one was the Samburu, and the third one was the Ndorobo. Now, Ndorobo, we have a tribe called Ndorobo. What is the definition of Ndorobo? I'm sure over 90% of my viewers have never understood how the name Ndorobo came. First of all, there is no tribe called Ndorobo. But we have three different groups which are associated with the Robo. Among the Elgon Maasai, that is Sebei and Sabaot, we have people who are called the Robo. Among the Kipsigis, in a place called, I don't know, Duinet Forest, there are people who are associated with the Robo. They are also called the Robo. And in Nyandarua and Laikipia area, we have people who are called Ndorobo. Olekaparo is one of them. Now, why are they called Ndorobo? In Maasai language, in the language of Kajiado and Samburu, Lol Ndorobo means, it is a way of saying those who are not rich, those who have not acquired. I think the best word is those who have not acquired. Acquired what? Acquired livestock. According to the Maasai, you can have your billions in your bank account, but according to Maasai's of 1969 and before, you could have your millions in your account. You could build several skyscrapers, but according to Maasai, your richness is counted by cattle. So if you don't have cattle, they say those who lack wealth. So Londorobois means those who lack wealth. And these are they are Maasais, yes, like Olekaparo, but they lack wealth. And instead of, now wealth meaning cattle, now instead of them having cattle or anything, they migrated into the forest where they survived on honey and other forest things. So that is the Maasai word Dorobo. You'll find that the people among the Kipsigis in the Doinet forest in Molo area are Kalenjins, and they also referred as Dorobo because they are forest dwellers who survive on honey and other animal and other forest produces. Their character is like that one of the Maasai's Dorobo in Laikipia. But they don't speak the same language. Actually, the language they speak is Kalenjin. It's Kipsigis, but they were called Dorobos. In the comment section, when I remember, I will write down their real name. Then the third Dorobo is found in Mount Elgon. These are Sebei and Sabaot, but instead of adapting the Rift Valley culture of cattle herding, they became forest hunters and gatherers. And so they are also called Dorobo. Those ones in Elgon Maasai, Elgon Sabaot, Sebei, and so on, who are Dorobos, nobody can recall their original name. Nobody can recall the original name, such that they have even stuck to the name Dorobo as a sub-tribe or a clan name among the Sabaot and Sebei. So that is how this thing started, and for the tribal clashes to subsidize in Maasai Mara, we have to look into the issue of the three clans. I do believe if a magic can happen that this clan called UASIN GISHU is removed from there and settles anywhere elsewhere, these other two clans, the Moitanic and Syria, will have less fights. Or, as they say that the only good land for you is 6/3, your grave. All other lands we can sit down and agree and we can settle that. So please do so.